Hooray, the Amazing Digital Circus is a full series! Now I don't have to be in a continual spiral of torment anymore! The Amazing Digital Circus made one of the biggest indie animation success stories. Seemingly just a little project between composer and animator Gooseworks and other animators completely spiraled out and became probably the internet's next big thing. And all from a pilot episode. I talked about it before in my thoughts, but I was too late to the party as it was, but I'm sure as hell not gonna do that again. So I was waiting in anticipation for the next episode, and I'm surprised by how quick the turnaround was. Like, only around 6 months for the next episode, and that's not even considering if there was any pre-production made before it got in full. Like, seriously, I'm amazed. I hope the animators weren't pushed too hard on it. But yeah, with another episode, we got a lot more information and development of the world, characters, and all that good stuff, so we can dive in. So straight away, I'm impressed by the scale of the world and how much is immediately opened up. In the first episode, the adventure was in-house, mostly get the feel for the world and the storyline, and the base of operations for the characters. But here it's shown Kane can legitimately just create entire new worlds and characters at will, which opens up so much more potential. I talked about the adventures being the perfect story catalyst, so you can do legitimately anything you can imagine, but here it pretty much confirms it already. Anything can happen in this show, and it's incredible. Quite amazing if I say so myself. But that's skipping ahead a bit. The episode starts out with a nightmare scene with Pomni abstracting and being sent to the cellar, as a quick reminder to her fears and what happened in the previous episode. I mean, consider how broken she was at the end, you can't exactly blame her for being terrified. I was really curious at how she would react after the last episode's ending. Also, since abstraction isn't brought up in the rest of the episode, it serves as a reminder that it's always a possibility. Also, I love how the show does showcase the complete wonkiness of the game's physics, which is important for later. I'm curious on how the characters can sleep. Ragatha said in the first episode that they can sleep, but since their minds are just projected in some headset, I wonder how they even can sleep. But we see Ragatha come to see Pomni, which is something I really wanted to see. Ragatha tried her best to help out Pomni in the first episode and get her comfortable to the circus life, while everyone else was just apathetic or just crazy. But after this scene, after Pomni tried to save herself, I was really wondering how their relationship would go. But I'm glad to see Ragatha still tries to keep her optimistic and friendly nature to Pomni. She says he understands her trying to escape and is worried about her after the complete hell she went through in the first episode. I do like how they tried to keep Ragatha's characterization and tries to be welcoming and appreciative to her, but still shows her own vulnerability underneath, knowing the relationship is still pretty strained. Even Pomni can't seem to get over how insane everything is, but Ragatha tries to get her out to go on Kane's next adventure. Kane introduces the Candy Carrier Chaos Adventure, which is also the title of the episode. Which makes me wonder if the episodes are going to be named after the adventures going forward. Also, I gotta say, I am disappointed that we didn't get the full version of the daily intro song because I really want to hear the full version with Pomni in it, damn it! But this adventure is to the Candy Canyon Kingdom, not that one, to get the maple syrup back from bandits. Kane also says that he's testing out a new AI, likely meaning the AI for the NPCs, which is going to be really interesting for later, which I'll talk about. However, Zuba wants to sit this one out again, which is really unfortunate since we don't get to know much about Zuba from the previous episode aside from her being apathetic and tired of all the craziness in the circus, and she's gone for most of the episode as well. I want to really get to know the cast as much as I can. It says that Zubal's gone twice. Maybe they're saving something for later? I really hope he's not just the forgotten character of the series. Pomni, though, realizes that...
So, our entire existence here is just... LARPing.
I mean, isn't that true for all the games, really? And Kane seems personally offended that they're questioning the game and shoves them out. Then we get to see the Candy Canyon Kingdom, and wow, this is amazing! Like, I know you and I immediately jump to Adventure Time's Candy Kingdom, but I love how this looks. The almost western-like terrain really makes it more unique than just standard Candyland world, where you see how intricately the landscape is used with the delectables, like the canyon walls looking like layer cake or bubblegum, to the spires out of macaroons, or to the marshmallow and lollipops to make up the foliage. It's great! I especially love the colors of the castle with the nice cinematic shots and unique architecture, fittingly enough with waffle cone walls and chocolate arches. Though, my favorites certainly are the candy beings, even though most are made from generic NPC model men. All the weird elephants seemingly inspired by melted gummy worms.
This, I found a gummy elephant in my gummy worms, look at him.
To the Princess Lou looking very Gooseworks-like, combining many candy aspects to the layer cake dress, lollipop head, and gumming hair, giving me a ton of Baroness von Bonbon vibes. And especially the bandits being gummy crocodiles to give a bit of an intimidation but also adorableness to the world. The princess tells them what they need to do and that they were sent by God, which is Kane. And okay, this world was made by Kane, but did he intentionally make his creations worship him, or is this some hubris? Very suspicious. The princess also gives them their War of Rage and gives me huge Wreck-It Ralph vibes. which Pomni points out doesn't make any sense for whatever time period they're in. But considering this is somewhat a medieval western, the time was already messed up. Speaking of, Pomni is very much a cynical straight man and is not getting into the adventure at all, even when Ragatha is trying to help her get into it like she is.
Already? Look, Pomni, we're already friends with the princess.
I'm not a child, you don't have to hype me up.
Jack's also shown to crave some violence, also before we want to mess with the new AI, making it clear he doesn't see the NPCs as people, something he can completely get away with hurting. We see our Croc bandits in its usual bumbling duo with a hardened leader, but they seem to have planned their village is in really bad shape and they need the syrup they stole, and the leader's mom will die if they don't get it back. Really messed up, honestly, for a wacky adventure. Kane, why did you make the bad guy so sympathetic? Maybe he expects the game to do some morally great decisions like it's some RPG. But it goes all Mad Max, actually come to think of it, this is practically Furry Road, with the gang pursuing the bandits as Jax bullies Gangle more. Ragatha once again tries to help Pomni out, seemingly trying to make up for her last adventure being a nightmare, but then Jack just yeets her out of the truck like, what the hell, dude? Like, what was your end goal here? But she manages to grab onto the other rig as she stretches out. I love this, and Squinkly Pomni gives me life. 3D animation having squats and stretch is so underappreciated, and no one really understands how hard it is to do with models. So I'm really impressed with how the show does it so naturally and on any production budget. And God, I love the show's humor.
Pomni, take this!
The chase is pretty fun with a lot of high-speed adrenaline, great humor, and random Pizza Tower references. Jax pretty much wants to cause carnage regardless of anyone's safety, even yelling, even blackmailing Gangle more like, leave her alone, dude, didn't you do enough before? But actually, Kinger causes the gang's truck to fall in the Fudge River as Pomni with the bandits crash into some mountains. However, the game's physics engine being crap forces the rig to glitch out, launching their truck and making Pomni and the leader, wow, literally no clip through the map and into the backrooms. Wow, it really is the backrooms, no joke. But this is where the episode takes its turn. The Croc leader wanders through the halls desperate to find people until he finds the unused models underneath the map like a lot of games do, where he comes face to face with the lifeless model of his friends and even himself, causing his entire reality to break. And it's a really interesting approach to have in this episode that gets better. They've really milked the moment for all it's worth. But Pomni falls too as the Croc demands to know what's going on, where they are, why aren't Pomni's friends there, and what they really are, and what he is. Even an especially heartbreaking one where he realizes he can't find his mom and can't even remember who she was, and if anything his life was real. Pomni's nervous about this, but the Croc demands them to explain what he is. It's interrupted by the rest of the gang stuck in the river, where Ragatha's worried about Pomni before a fudge monster emerges. Probably inspired by the Gritty from the Raggedy Ann movie, which is fitting that Ragatha's also there. The Fudge says it lived in the Candy Kingdom before the princess banished him after apparently eating her people. Pretty messed up.
Pomni always seems to miss the big loopy monsters.
Also foreshadowed.
Here's the key back into the kingdom for when you've secured the goods. I trust you not to let it fall into the wrong hands.
Also, I love this guy's animation, like a 3D liquid amorphous being. It's what it's been so difficult to animate, like props to you guys. Jax makes a deal with the Fudge to get them out of the river if he gets them back in the kingdom's walls so he can eat everyone there to Ragatha's dismay. Also, the other bandits fall in with them. Back to the backrooms, Pomni tries to get the other truck asset to glitch out so they can escape, but can't ignore the Croc being completely destroyed. And it leads to the best part of the episode, where Pomni for once takes the initiative and tries to confront them. Pomni says he can't leave them here, as his Croc says that he doesn't matter. Everything about his life, memories, friends, was fake. He's just an obstacle for their adventure. But Pomni actually relates to them, saying they know what it's like to have your entire worldview shattered, but also said that she knows what it's like feeling like you don't matter, even in the real world, showing that she still has some memories from then. And it's very interesting to think about, and you might be able to speculate. The Croc still says he has no life outside of being just the bad guy in this adventure, and there's no life after. But Pomni offers a hand of friendship and then come back to the circus with them, and if it has to be her home, it can be his, and offer him the chance to be a real person there. I'm just gonna play it because describing it is not doing it any justice.
Why are you trying to cheer me up? How does this benefit you at all?
I guess I just don't want you to feel like you're nothing. I don't want anybody to feel like that.
Not even a real person. Would I even belong?
I'm sure you wouldn't belong any less than me. And I could use a friend.
Now, this is really incredible from a character standpoint. One thing I noticed from the pilot is that Pomni never really got the chance to show who she was. She was just pulled from the craziness like a scared little kid, not sure what they're doing, just reacting to everything. She doesn't want to be here and pretty much acts like a deer in headlights to everything. The other characters don't really even try to help them, Ragatha being the only one who tried to help her out, with the others just apathetic to her or just crazy. And even then, she mostly just shoots down Ragatha's attempt to help her. Even when she's theoretically gotten more accustomed to the circus on the adventures, she was probably just as passive. But this is the first time she's truly taken the initiative to show how she really is. And it's to the person who's practically going through what she did. No doubt she feels that kind of a kingship and understanding through the situation more than any other interaction she had. The one thing she can actually understand that's not truly insane. Ironically, she acts like Ragatha did to her, trying to comfort and help someone truly lost and afraid. Her vulnerability is used to relate to someone just like her and help them through this immense struggle. It's hard not to get emotionally invested. It makes me seriously like Pomni more and more as an actual character. It also plays so much into the existentialism of the series in a new way. And Kane said it was messing with new AIs, which could be how it became so sapient. What does it truly mean to be alive? And if an AI can be sapient in its domain and realize the pointlessness of its existence. I'm surprised I didn't think this would be brought up. The two AIs we've seen of Kane and Bubble are so wacky and following their programming, but we never got an AI aware of its own existence like this. It's very compelling and interesting. I think a lot of Digital Circus' strengths come from the existentialism beyond the silly nature of the characters and episodes. There's things that really make you think, and I think that's helped it get so popular. It's so great to have this really compelling moment in the episode and series. Pomni also asks his name, which he says is Gummigoo. I love it, and these two have such great interactions after.
This doesn't work, we can try something else.
You're the expert here.
I'm really not.
Pomni gets the idea to do another collision with a spare truck. Also, a lot of supplies that Pomni does have at least a basic understanding of game functionalities, collision glitching, falling through the map, etc. Which could lead credence to the theory that she might have worked for CNA before, maybe also with the a lot of people feel worthless part. Luckily it works as they rocket back on the map. The gang is riding on the fudge, and Ragatha questions the other bandits where the others went to no avail. Ragatha says he's worried about Pomni and her having two horrific experiences on their adventures. He even says he's worried that Pomni hates her. Kinger actually speaks up in his only real relevance in the episode, comforting her, saying that it takes time to adjust and that she took a lot of time to adjust when she arrived. As Ragatha's surprised, he remembered, but he immediately forgets. It does make me think of in the previous video how I wondered when Ragatha arrived to the circus and if she helped Pomni out so much because she went through the same thing recently. But Pomni and Gummigoo land right on the fight, seemingly killing it. Ragatha's relieved to see them, as Pomni opens up to them saying that she made a new friend. Gummigoo is glad to see his pals too, not telling them what he found out. And luckily now they have two identical tankers, they can take the spray to save their on-screen village in the kingdom at the same time. Weird that the perfect solution happened by breaking the game. What is with your game design, Kane? Jax though is pissed that everything ended happily and that there's no unnecessary death or carnage. Yeah, Jax clearly doesn't see the NPCs as real people and just toys to abuse and play with. Not that his friends are that different. And it gives me a ton of Infinity Train Season 3 vibes. Pomni introduces Gummigoo and says he's going to the circus with them, and by god I love these two in the background. And they go back to the kingdom as heroes as they're going to leave. But turns out Jax left the gate unlocked and the Fuds didn't die and is about to eat everyone as they leave. Which, when you realize that these NPCs are fully sapient, that means that Jax literally just killed hundreds of living beings. Like, oh my god, dude. But Gummigoo says he's getting used to living in the circus, then...
Looks like one of these guys made it through.
Wait, what?
Oh, come on, show. You didn't need to do that. You didn't need to do that. My heart. Ah! I mean, when they said he could live in the circus, I thought this was gonna happen, but why? Kane says he can't be mixing up NPCs and real people, which fair enough, but still, ow. Pomni seeing her first true friend die in front of her, and of course starts cracking, making me very nervous about some abstracting. And Ragatha tries to comfort her, saying that Kane, like every game developer, reuses assets so Gummigoo may come back. But okay, now there is 100% gonna be a moment where he's back as a villain and Pomni tries to reach back out to them, only to not know who she is and is going to break mine and many other people's hearts, so mark my words. But Zubul comes back, forgot she was in this, to arrange Kaufman's funeral from last episode, which Ragatha explains the gang likes to have a funeral for those abstracted to remember who they were in the good times, which is also a very heartbreaking and very real thing of this series to do. Also, this part is of interest. Jax is visibly worried and sad about the funeral for a second before leaving, which may be the biggest character turn of them all. Jax was a jerk in the first episode, but he didn't really go too far. Here he was kind of the worst, bullying, harassing, blackmailing, naming characters for dead, and even relishing violence and bloodshed to the NPCs, disregarding anyone who's not him. But that small hint proves there's a part of him who genuinely cares about his friends, and certainly misses them when they're gone. He hides it quickly, but it's there. It's the biggest indicator that behind his jerk persona, he's just as, if not more vulnerable and sensitive to those around it. It's just the way he copes. I really want to see this expand upon in later episodes, it's really interesting. But it ends with everyone else at the funeral, Pomni included, where everyone gives their tearful goodbye to their lost friends. It also seems that Gangle and Kafu had a close relationship with each other, which makes me imagine that Kafu might have helped Gangle out with her immense anxiety and depression, which makes this even more heartbreaking, as even Kinger and Zubo give their goodbyes as well. And it makes Pomni realize she's not alone as she thinks she is. After helping Gummigoo with his issues, there are people who can actually be her friends and companions, people who truly care for her and will help her out, and maybe save her from herself.
Well, I guess we're not all cut out for it.
I don't even remember her name, honestly.
And unlike last time, it ends with her finally genuinely smiling, as she has genuine companionship now. And yeah, this episode was fantastic. I was wondering how Digital Circus would continue as a series, and I'm glad they kept up the quality. It was a joy to see this world and characters again, and love so much about it. It was amazing to see such a fun and colorful new world, and see things beyond just a circus tent, not to mention the fantastic animation that came along with it. The music is also fantastic too, I should mention, with the chase music and especially the truck escape scene I didn't talk about. It was gorgeous! And also just to finally get to see more of the characters interacting with each other and how they deal with these new situations, hinting at larger insights that likely will be addressed in the future and the development that everyone goes through. But those emotional moments were by far the best part. It shows that the series has genuine heart behind its goofiness, that not only do you get genuinely invested, but makes you think too. That's something I really gotta applaud the series for. It has that internet humor of course and zany fun adventures, but there's also this psychological and emotional element that elevates it so much and is what I think people truly like about it. And this episode shows it off more than anything before. It really shows off who Pomni is as a person and makes you like her more and invested in her story. And the thematic elements of artificial intelligence and what truly makes a person alive is very compelling. Admittedly, there's not much development or answers in the main conflict, but I'm sure we'll get there eventually. This is the second episode. I'm so glad to see this series continuing, and I personally cannot wait to see what happens next. I know Gooseworks is insanely stressed now that their work is pretty much taken over the internet, but I seriously have to say that they're doing a fantastic job as well as the rest of the crew. They're really showing the potential of indie animation, and I cannot be happier for them. And I can't wait to see the next adventure these performers will go on. It's sure to make me laugh and cry. So speaking of which, did they throw Gummigoo a funeral after he died? Well, I know what I gotta do now. You know, it's really funny out of all the cartoon candy princesses, that the Gooseworks one was probably the less murderous and insane.
Have fun executing that bandit fella.
Wait, what?